Hey, this is Rick Caselge from exercisesforinjuries.com. Today I have another interview for you, and I'm actually doing this interview in a hotel room in Tampa Bay. I'm down here I'm working on my next project, which I'm really excited about. I can't really reveal it right now, but I'm quite sure if you keep up with me on my YouTube channel or on my blog, you'll find out about it very soon. But enough about that. Focusing on today's interview, it's with Tom, and I'll get Tom to introduce himself, and then we'll get into the interview.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me. My name's Tom Talbot, and I'm a panic and anxiety coach from Minnesota. And I just specialize in teaching people different ways to redirect the way that they feel and get them over a lot of bad emotional habits they can develop in their lives.
Okay, and it's always nice talking to people in like the Minnesota area because you guys are really into hockey, just like we are in Canada.
Yes, that's very true. Yep. A lot of youth hockey. A lot of youth hockey when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's always good when you connect up and you can chat ice hockey with somebody.
hmm
Okay, but maybe you can kind of start and give us a little bit of insight on, how you kind of got into this, panic attack coaching and helping people overcome panic attacks.
Sure. So I had panic attacks and anxiety for 12 years. I suffered. Primarily for about 10 years of that period, I ended up getting addicted to a common form of medication that's given to people for panic and anxiety. And it ended up creating a lot of other problems in my life. And eventually, I was lucky enough to get myself off of that medication. And then the anxiety started to come back into my life really bad. And I didn't really have another way of dealing with it. I went to a lot of holistic experts. I went to other doctors. I got prescribed other kinds of medication for it, and nothing was helping me out. And then finally, I met somebody who had a background in psychology and did some neuroscience research originally for drug companies that taught me some techniques that really, really helped me turn the corner, really helped me actually get over the anxiety and panic attacks. And I just kind of went on and started living my life. And it turns out I was dating a girl, kind of an interesting story. Her mom started having horrible anxiety and had tried everything, kind of a similar situation. She was a director for a charity at one point and, led a whole department of like 15 or 20 people and ended up not being able to work and not really even being able to leave her house because the anxiety was so bad. So I just mentioned to her that I had had the same problem and that, I knew some of these techniques that worked, or one specific technique, and I just ended up teaching it to her, which looking back on it was kind of risky because if it didn't work, I would look like kind of an idiot, excuse me, and probably lose a lot of face in front of my girlfriend at the time. But I did teach her the technique. She got an amazing response from it, and things kind of went from there. I mean, my career at the time was I was an engineer. I was not at all interested in psychology or counseling or any of that kind of stuff. I was just a regular nerdy guy that liked to play around with circuits. And from that point on, she, started recommending other people, and I just kind of got involved in it, and I really connected with it because of my own experience. So it's just been, kind of a work of passion from that point on. So.
Oh, cool, cool. And then maybe we can kind of explain to people like, what are panic attacks? Because probably when you were going through it at the start, you probably didn't even know what it was. You had this reaction. There's probably like physical, emotional reaction that happened, and you probably didn't even know what it was. You probably had to go, you know, ask someone, go see the doctor, and then they kind of let you know what it exactly was. So maybe you can help people kind of explain to them like what a panic attack is.
Sure. Yeah. So, from a scientific perspective, it's a reaction in your autonomic nervous system, which is a part of your neurology that controls all of your autonomous physiology, your breathing, your heart rate, your perspiration, just a lot of different stuff that you don't consciously have to think about. And there's two parts to it. One's called the sympathetic nervous system and one's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And they kind of work in polarity to each other. They're kind of like the push-pull of your nervous system. So one kind of gears you up to get ready for conflict and deal with danger, and the other one kind of calms you down and lets you know everything's okay and soothes you. And panic attacks are basically a runaway stimulation of the SNS, and they can start to kind of change the way that your nervous system is wired and change the way that you think and behave in ways that continue to reinforce this reaction over and over. But the experience of that is pretty different. I mean, and there are varying intensities to these things. Some people get, real mild attacks that'll last just a few seconds, and they get some fluttering in their heart or just a few physical symptoms and a little bit of like, what's happening to me, to some people just being completely immobilized with terror for, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time. And so there's a lot of variation in terms of how intense they can be. But the first panic attack I had, it almost felt like, something terrible was going to happen. Like I had this impending sense of doom that I could die or something was going to happen. And it was just really, I had no idea what was going on. I thought maybe I was having a nervous breakdown at the time. Because honestly, most people complain that they have some kind of a heart palpitation or a heart problem, and they're concerned that they're going to have a heart attack. And I definitely had, a lot of tightness in my chest and a faster heartbeat, but there was just some kind of overwhelming fear I had that something terrible was going to happen. And I really thought that I was losing my mind at the time. I had no idea what was going on. So it was pretty scary.
I think that the only form of testosterone that really matters is the free testosterone. So it's not bound to a protein. It's able to flow throughout the body, repair tissue, do what testosterone does. So vitamin D helps free testosterone, which is a very important thing.